Next up, I'd like to introduce Faraday Copper. Faraday is advancing development and continuing to explore their flagship Copper Creek project in Pinal County, Arizona. Copper Creek benefits from excellent access to infrastructure, being just about 10 kilometers from highway, rail, and power connections. The company recently announced the results of a PEA for the project, outlining a 32-year life of mine, but importantly, the study didn't include any results from this year's recently completed drill program. So it's my pleasure to introduce Faraday's CEO, Paul Harbidge, who joined the company back in September 2021 after a successful exit from GT Gold, which was sold to Newmont for $425 million in cash. Paul, please take it away.
Thanks, Connor. Good morning, everyone, and give you an update on Faraday Copper. So we have one of the largest undeveloped copper projects in the US with 4.2 billion pounds in the measured and indicated category. We're in just 20 months, we've put together a resource update, we've delivered a PEA, and we're showing significant exploration upside. But really, this is about the start of the journey. And, the base case, the PEA forms a base case in which now to layer on the further value creation through both exploration, discovery, and value engineering. We're also starting to see gold in the system, which hasn't been quantified in the past, with the gold credits being able to, add future value to the project as well. We're just finishing up a 10,000 meter drill program, so you can expect further results from that coming through. We then have a short break where we're going to put together all the data from the 10,000 meter program, as well as further geophysical and spectral data that will really drive a 20,000 meter program from Q4. And then, as I mentioned, we've got the gold program, so watch out for results on that. When you look at the landscape of copper projects in the hands of junior companies in the Americas, then, there's a scarcity of them. And as Adam pointed out, with this bull market coming, demand for copper, and, Faraday stands out in terms of, this long mine life, but importantly, low initial capital. And you'll see that in the results of our PEA, that, a lot of these big copper projects have initial price tags well into the billions, and we're coming out significantly below $1 billion and have a 30-year plus mine life. And so compared to our peers, we're still significantly undervalued. Adam mentioned, people, and it's since coming on board 20 months ago, we've been able to handpick a management team as well as the board as well, and really this is our sort of mantras about bringing senior company mentality to the junior world. And that starts off with the rigor and discipline around the technical work, making sure that we've got empirical data to make the informed decisions and drive the value. And then also through the governance of the company. Myself, I'm a geologist by experience, an explorer. I've been involved in making some of the biggest discoveries over the last 20 years and adding significant shareholder value, whether it was at Randgold Resources or, as Connor mentioned, at GT Gold as well. In terms of our corporate overview, you can see there we're supported by three of the biggest names in the mining sector, with the Lundin family, Murray Edwards and Pierre Lassonde. Collectively, they own over 30% of the company. We did a financing earlier this year, raised $40 million, and that brought in some key institutions. The lead orders came from Fidelity, Franklin, and Wellington out of the US. We're currently sitting on close to $28 million, and that's sufficient to see us deliver on our key milestones going through to the end of 2024. And as you can see there, we've already created significant value since we came on, and but plenty more to unlock with the work programs that we've got coming up. So where do we locate? We're right in the heart of the US copper belts in southern Arizona. We're at the confluence of two main porphyry belts. There's an east-northeast trend there that runs through the old San Manuel mine of BHP's out to the Morenci and Suffolk districts of Freeport. And then we've got the northwest trend that runs from the Johnson camp up through to Asarco's Ray and the Resolution, and then Pinto Valley. So, great location for infrastructure. We're in the San Pedro Valley, and that's got highways, power. There's an active rail line as well coming through San Manuel. And also importantly, this San Pedro River Valley that you see coursing through here, you'll note there's no agriculture in here. Why is that? It's because the waters are naturally contaminated and therefore it can't be used for agriculture. So that means there's no aquifer protection, or it's not an actively managed water area, and water's prioritized for industrial use. Also, I think importantly, because sometimes Arizona does have bad press when you think about the Rosemont project of Hud Bays, which is in the residential footprint of Tucson, and then the Resolution project, which is a joint venture between BHP and Rio, and that has American Native Indian title over the project. So, we're not in any residential footprint. We've reached out to all the native tribes in Arizona, and they recognize they have no rights over the project. The two local communities closest to us, Mammoth and San Manuel, were actually purpose-built by Magma Copper in the 1950s for the San Manuel mine. And since that mine closed, then they've suffered economically and a number of social problems. Turning to the mineral resource, as I say, we've got 5 billion pounds of copper in all categories, and 4.2 measured and indicated, supported by over 200,000 meters of drilling, hence the high proportion of M&I at 83%. First thing we did when we came on board was to put a geological model together and to constrain the resources, and it's the first time there's an open pit and underground resource. Previously, it was just a grade shell interpretation with no geological constraints. We've also obviously improved the data as well, with more gravity work. We've also added a detailed topographical survey, and we've incorporated all the metallurgical and geotechnical work into this resource. Here, this image shows a sort of pictorial view. The upper images are the open pit, and the lower images are the underground. Importantly, so there's two styles of mineralization that are associated with this project. The open pit is associated with high-grade breccia pipes. The core of them run at more than 1% copper, as you can see from this magenta color. And then they've got an outer halo of lower-grade mineralization. And then the underground mineralization is associated with the quartz stockwork within the porphyries. A number of the open pits are actually limited on data, as you see these white areas here that they just haven't been drilled, and that's been some of the focus of our 10,000 meter program, which I'll show you the results, and already confirming that we're filling in these gaps, and therefore expect to see the resource grow as well as the open pits as we continue to do our work. And then as well in the underground, we've got a large underground footprint, again with these high grade cores. KEEL is the highest grade footprint. That's probably running 10 to 15% higher than the American Eagle, but it's also the most densely drilled. So we see an opportunity with further infill drilling to better delineate the high grade cores within the American Eagle. And we're also seeing from recent results that this underground system is still open. But also what's intriguing is, or interesting from an exploration point of view, is the most complete system that we've delineated to date is Mammoth to KEEL. So that goes from breccia pipe down into the porphyry mineralization. But you'll note that the globe copper prints old reliable breccia pipes over to the west here. There's no underground mineralization at the moment. Why? Because it's not been drilled. So opportunity exists to that with depth that the breccia pipes neck down into porphyries that haven't been tested. And then similarly in the American Eagle area, this was drilled by vertical holes, and we've mapped out breccias at surface, but they haven't been drilled. So we see the potential to connect the American Eagle with breccia pipes near to surface, and then similarly to further expand the underground resource with deeper drilling below those open pits to the west. Here's the PEA. Really, I'd say it's sort of outdated, you know, with all the new drill results we're showing, but really this forms a base case. And it was important for us to be able to demonstrate that we have a robust project, you know, 30-year mine life, starting off with 10 years of open pit, and then transitioning into a bulk underground mine of 20 years, and then some stockpiling at the end. Importantly, it produces an average of just over 50,000 tons of copper annually. And as I mentioned at the outset, you know, low initial capital. You know, there's very few copper projects around the world that can come in less than $1 billion. And then the 4-year payback, and then cash flow from the pit will then self-fund the underground. So, you know, great base case now in which to work from in terms of layering on that upside, both through value engineering as well as the drill bit and making new discoveries, which we're going to come on to now. And then importantly, you know, about another point that Adam made about making social license, and this has also been a key part of our work as well. And you know, working with both local communities, the native Indian tribes, as well as the various agencies in the US, and that's been now about building that framework for data collection and engagement. And so, you know, we've been installing flow meters and piezometers into our drill holes and surface drainage. We're water sampling, elevation monitoring. We've put the meteorological station in place, updated flora, fauna, archaeological and cultural studies, and we've started community meetings with our local you know, affected communities, as well as reaching out to those native tribes. And so really building that foundation that will lead on through the permitting process in due course. So turning to exploration, and for me as an explorer, this is the exciting bit. One of the main reasons why I joined Faraday and wanted to lead the company is the opportunity to make new discoveries. And so in our land package, there's 2 key faults that host mineralization. So firstly, the Holy Joe fault, that's in the east, and that is the main conduit for the breccias and porphyries that host the main resource. And then you'll see that we've got a number of breccia and porphyry targets to the, you know, to the north and to the south along that structure that haven't been tested. And so they're starting to be the focus of our exploration work. And then we've got the western fault, and that's the conduit for all the breccias and porphyries along the western side of the property that have never been drill tested. So we've got a dedicated exploration team outside of the resource and the study work. They've been mapping, sampling. We've recently flown a detailed airborne geophysical survey and the spectral survey. All of that data now is being integrated to really drive the exploration program going forward with the aim of making new discoveries. Just looking at some of the recent drill results from our phase 2 drilling. As I mentioned earlier, you know, our pits were limited on data, so we drilled here, Copper Prince drilled a hole below it, you know, high grade copper mineralization. And what's interesting as well, we started to intersect massive sulphide breccias, and hence why we've got the 15 meters at almost 11% copper. And then this is where we started to see an increase in gold. And previously, a lot of the core was not sampled for gold. And so we've embarked on a gold program where we're quartering core and sampling historical core. Now, just to be clear, though, we don't see gold right across the system. We see gold in certain breccia phases, probably 20 to 30 million tons of the current resource we see being enriched in gold in the open pit, and about 50 million tons in the underground from KEEL, where we're seeing an enrichment in gold. And so, as I say, we've started sampling that core, and you can expect to start to see gold intersections being released, and then that will be updated indicated in a mineral resource in the future to be factored into further studies. So that was Copper Prince. And then similarly at Copper Giant, we got a 100-meter intersect at almost 0.7% copper. It's essentially sitting outside of the pit wall. So, you know, grades that are far higher than in the current resource. And really this is all open. So again, the potential to significantly increase the open pit resource, you know, add life to the open pit, and it's still open. And then a recent drill hole at KEEL to the west, which was drilled outside of the underground footprint. So the black box here that you see, it's only the blocks inside that that shape that report to the resource. And you know, we got over 400, almost 500 meters of mineralization with some high grade intersects, including 32 meters at almost 1% copper. And so this is all open to the west. And that's starting to vector towards those breccia pipes in the open pits that haven't been tested at depth. And so in terms of, you know, what's the next milestones coming up over the next 12 to 18 months. So you can expect to see more drill results from our phase 2 program, which, as Connor mentioned, have not been included in the PEA or the resource. We've commenced that gold byproduct study that, you know, can add significant value to the NPV of the open pits and the underground. We're looking at asset scalability in terms of increasing production from the current 30,000 tons per day up to 45,000 tons, as well as looking at improvements on the metallurgy as well. And then we've got the phase 3 program, 20,000 meters, which starts in probably about October, and that's testing new targets. You know, we've got altogether 400 breccias have been mapped at on the project along those two structures. Only 35 have had a drill hole or more, and only 17 are in the resource. So we've got many more to start to evaluate, and excited about making new discoveries. And as you've seen as well, open pits and underground are still open, so further drilling to expand that. And then on the district scale exploration. And we are fully funded to be able to deliver on this program over, as I say, the next 12 to 18 months. And so finally, just to finish off in summary, you know, one of the largest undeveloped copper projects in the US. We've got significant exploration upside and are still, you know, undervalued compared to our peers. So with that, thank you very much.
Thanks very much for that, Paul. And again, also looking forward to catching up with you at the end there.